Thanks for listening to the Great Av Podcast.
Great Podcast.
We meet inspiring people from around the world.
Hey, what's up, guys? How's it going? I hope everything is good out there. My name is Gray Jabesi, and this is the Great Av Podcast. And this is the show where curious minds, entrepreneurs, hustlers, and problem solvers converge. I bring out awesome guests and I try to have a conversation with them, and you and myself can learn something from those conversations. That's the whole point, all right? And today I have a unicorn, definitely somebody I have been looking forward to talk to for a very long time, and that's Marnus Broodryk. For some of you are already familiar with him because he's one of the sharks on the show Shark Tank South Africa. That's the Shark Tank version of South Africa, just so that you know. All right, so Marnus has been an entrepreneur since he was young, and his story is very compelling, and we all love those stories, guys. We all love those stories of someone coming up from the bottom to the top. Now he's here. So we get into the story, and we get into how he started his first business, which was successful after 2 years, and which led to make him a millionaire at the age of 24. So we jump into what made and contributed to that success, and we talked about his philosophy on funding, and we talk about how do you become a better salesperson, because all the successful entrepreneurs out there are actually salespeople if you think about it. So he shares what you can do to actually improve your confidence, or just to get numb to the rejections that you might get as an entrepreneur. So he shares some actually practical advice on that, and we talk about investing, his philosophy on investing when he is the shark on Shark Tank. What does he look for? And we definitely talk about his book, 90 Rules for Entrepreneurs. And that's actually coming on the 31st of October. That's when it's launching. And the launch event is on the 1st of November, 2017. So I'll put the link to his website. That's where you can pre-order the book, or you can even buy tickets to the event. And that's going to be at Monte Casino, Johannesburg. And you can find everything else you would like to know on his website. That's marnusbroodryk.com, and that's MarnusBroodryk, and then you get it. And just before we get into it, guys, I just want to give a shout out to the sponsor of this episode, and that's Connect Me. And I had the founder of Connect Me on episode 56. You might want to check it out as well. He's a very young founder in his early 20s, but doing incredible work. Basically, Connect Me is a proximity-based networking tool that uses Bluetooth technology in order to power its discovery of other users within a certain area. So picture yourself at a coffee shop, drinking a cappuccino, just waiting for the next opportunity to come knocking. With Connect Me, the passive approach is no longer an option. Their goal is to provide users with tools to make the most of their surroundings and allow you to identify fellow users based on their professional needs, which is awesome. As an entrepreneur, you're always looking out to connect with other people. So you can download it from your App Store or your Google Play. It's Connect Me. That's KNEKTME. Or you can also just go to their website, connectme.com. It's going to lead you to where you can actually download it. So it helps you, to create opportunities that may not have presented themselves otherwise. And you don't have to worry about having a business card. All right, so let's get into the podcast with Marnus. I really enjoyed this, and I hope that you guys enjoy it as well. Remember to share and subscribe to the Grey F Podcast if you like learning from other people.
The day was good. The day was full of meetings, full of challenges, but always good, eh?
Right. What's your daily schedule looks like these days?
I'm a very routine guy, and I'm a very tick box and tick lists and to-do list guy. So I like routine. So every day has got a theme, and I try to stick to that. Every evening I do my planning for the next day. So it really depends on which day it is.
Right. So I don't know if you remember, we made at the airport. I think it was in May the other day, but it's quite a long time ago, and it was just a brief chat.
Okay.
Yeah, we did.
Which one?
Johannesburg or Tambo.
Okay, amazing.
Yeah. But anyway.
So I can't recall, but yeah.
Great. So if one has to run a Google search about you, you know what obviously comes on top, right? Millionaire at 24.
Yes.
How do you take that?
That line has been sticking for some time now in the media, and I think we're just getting over that now. But yeah, it's something that happened early in my life, and I think 8 years on from there, a lot of other things happened. But I think people still stick to that because I think it's a little bit of inspiration for young people to show that it can be done at a young age. But yeah, I'm still proud of it. I worked really hard to get there. So yeah, I'm still proud of it.
Right. So, I mean, I'm obviously familiar with your story and how you got started by reading, and I mean, you've been around magazines a lot in the last couple of years. For somebody who is not, say you meet someone at the airport, they have no idea who you are. How do you explain yourself?
Don't bring this airport story up again. I'm feeling bad about it. No, Grace. Life started in Harrismith in the Free State. From humble beginnings, and my parents couldn't afford my school fees, and that really introduced me to entrepreneurship. And I didn't realize it at the time. It wasn't like when I was 16 and you asked me what am I doing that I said, "Ooh, I'm being an entrepreneur." Yeah, I just started working so I could buy stuff and have pocket money and essentially pay my school fees. So that's where it started. Age 18, I was finishing up school and I couldn't go and study, and then I got an opportunity to start doing my articles, and I started studying accounting through UNISA. I did my auditing articles. 4 years later I was done. I moved up to the big bad city of Joburg. I started my first business, and after 2 years it was a great success.
Right. So how old were you when you moved to Johannesburg?
I was 22.
22. Okay, so on that, when did you have like some sort of an idea of what you wanted to do there?
When I was busy with my articles, it was auditing articles, and I saw that we were sending these big bills to companies, but we didn't add any value really, and I wanted to change that, and I felt like I've got so much to give to small businesses and to entrepreneurs, because as a financial person, you don't always understand, or you think everyone understands financials and numbers, but they don't. And so when I was done with my articles, I thought I've got a great opportunity to start a business that can really help SMEs, and that's what ignites it.
Right. So I'm still kind of fascinated with your early stage story. Like, what kind of a kid were you when you were younger?
I was growing up in Harrismith. I think I was very privileged to have a life that I don't think a lot of kids can have nowadays, where we played outside. And so yeah. But I think as in school, I was always a leader. I was always positive. Whenever someone saw something as a problem, I would always see the nice side to it, or the positive side to it. Definitely always a leader. And I think that came out in my business career later on, where you work with people and employees, and you need to mentor, and you need to help, and you need to coach. And when everything is going against you, you need to be the optimist. So yeah, I think many things of my being a kid, I think, pulled through in my adult life. But I think, yeah, I was pretty much the same person as I am today.
All right. So, and then you turned 22, moved to Johannesburg, started your own business. We have a lot of stories about startups, for example. People start their businesses and it takes them even 10 years just to get to a level where they're recognizable, or to be that successful like you were. What do you think it was that contributed to what happened to company specifically?
Yeah, I think, as you say, a lot start out, a lot want to be in business, a lot of people want to be entrepreneurs, but I don't think a lot of people will say, I'm willing to give everything I've got to be whatever I want. And I think that's the difference. I think so many people speak to me, they say, I want to be an entrepreneur, but they're not willing to work 12 or 15 or 18-hour days. They want to be an entrepreneur, but they're not willing to give up their Audi TT. They want to be an entrepreneur, but they don't want to downscale. They want to have a successful business, but they don't want to make the uncomfortable calls. What's different for me is that I came to Joburg. I knew that I had like maybe 3 months of cash with me, and I need to make it in the next 3 months. And I did whatever it took to make it work. And I think if you've got that kind of determination in business, I think very few things can actually stop you. So I hear you, and I think a lot of people want it, but I think they want to be more on their phone, or they want to watch more Friends episodes, or they want other stuff more than what they actually want the business.
Wow, that's amazing what you said there in terms of how you allocate and spend your time, right? Well, how do you specifically spend most of your time with all this, the noise and the distractions that comes with? What are the tools that you use to kind of keep on track all the time?
I think aspiring entrepreneurs, they go out and they create business cards and they create websites and they go and rent offices. But that's the easy stuff to do when you set up a business or when you start a business. The difficult thing is to go and get clients. And the time that I spent early on was to do that, to get clients. You money, and money pays the bills. And I think entrepreneurs need to focus on that when they start out, is forget all the fluffy stuff and go and get clients.
Right. And say you have an idea right now, because on your business, did you ever get any like VC money at one point?
No, so I never got any funding. I bootstrapped myself. In every single business that I've been involved in, I never got funding. And interestingly enough, all my businesses, I exited 100%. And the only time I've sold a portion of a business was last year, 2016, when I sold a majority stake in the Beancounter, which is an accounting firm that I sold to Transaction Capital, a JSE-listed company. And that was the very first time that I took an outside party in as a shareholder. But prior to that, bootstrap all the way.
Right. So do you think the current state of startups, where people are going out and chasing for the money first, for investment, and then try to build the company later, do you think the way, because it's probably 10 years ago when you were doing your first company, right? Yeah. So it's not that long time ago. So do you think the mode of building businesses has changed, or it's just more of a hype where everybody is trying to get funded even before they build any product?
No, I think that's just a lame excuse for people who don't want to work hard. And maybe it's a warped perception that we've been taught at school or universities. Go and draft a big fancy business plan, and then you go to a bank or government and you must raise huge amount of funding, and that's the way you start a business. That's not the way you start a business. That's the way how you fail in business. You've never ran a business. You don't know what to do. You don't have any record, and then you go and raise money. And then entrepreneurs or aspiring entrepreneurs, they don't get and then they get negative and say, yeah, there's no capital available. There's a lot of capital available, but it's not being spent on ideas. It's being spent on great businesses. And if you want to be in business, don't look for funding. Start that business, get your first client, grow the business, and then when you need capital, you can go and raise funds. And I think that whole perception needs to change, not just in South Africa, across the world.
Right. And just to throw it out there, how much money did you have exactly when you were moving to Joburg at 22?
It was about 37,000. I've seen a couple of numbers, but it was like late 30 or 30 odd something thousand rand.
Wow. Which most people have had, on that age, they have had even more than that. But there's always an excuse of, we need capital, we need like investments and stuff.
No, it's completely warped. Give me a business. Give me any business. Someone wants to start a business. Give me any idea.
say, well, an app that's helping people to secure themselves at a night out, say, as an example?
All right, cool. So you want to go and create an app, and then people go for quotes, and they get quotes of 5, 6, 7, 8 million rand to develop the app. You can take that idea, go onto something like, I don't know what it's called now, it used to be Elance, and go and find a developer in India, pay them 10,000 or 15,000 rand to get a app out there. It might just be on one platform, and then you put it out and you test it, and you see if it's working or not. But the problem with entrepreneurs is they think they need to raise this millions of rand to get to their final product. And the problem with that is, if you raise 10 million rand for your app, then you go into a development stage for 2 years. And then after 2 years, you release the app and no one wants it. Instead of paying 10, 15,000 rand, get an app out there in 2-3 months and see if people actually use it. And when they use it, you improve on it, you get money from them, and you hustle your way to the top. It should be the other way around, but for some reason we always think we need to go and get big cash.
Sure. And the website that you're referring to now, it used to be called Elance. Now it's called Upwork for the people listening.
Upwork, yes, yeah. Upwork, that's right.
Yeah, it's really great. And now with your philosophy that you have about business, based on your success and what you've been through, you're on Shark Tank. What are the things that you look at when the entrepreneur is pitching that are like the red flags or the green flags that you actually get enthusiastic to invest in?
Yeah, so I think me as an investor, and I think all investors should be like that, and I think most are. It's why do you invest? To make money. That's the number one reason why you an investor. Yes, there might be a social element to it, but you invest to make money, and I think that's the thing that most entrepreneurs forget when they're looking for investors. They forget about the most important thing is, how much money have I made? How much do I need? And how much money am I going to make you? And I think that's what gets me excited. I don't get excited about an idea because anyone can come up with an idea. I'm excited about an entrepreneur who comes in front of me and say, I've made X amount in the last couple of months or years or whatever. That excites me because that shows that entrepreneur is more than just an idea. They've actually got it in them to execute that idea.
Right. So what you said now, it's fascinating because at an entry-level entrepreneur, just like as a general thought, a status quo for people, there's this perception of that money is bad. Nobody wants to admit that they want it. And when I'm watching Shark Tank, it's the opposite. It's like the entrepreneurs want you to admit that you also want money, because that kind of gives them an edge of saying, okay, this guy actually wants it, and we might get a return out of it.
Yeah. Of course, we all want money.
For sure. And man, you're doing a lot now. You're working on a book. I think it's just the right time that we talk about it. First of all, why did you decide to write a book at this moment?
Yeah, so after Shark Tank ended, I was approached by Tracy McDonald from Tracy McDonald Publishers, and she said, Marnus, I think it's time to share your knowledge of the world. And we started discussions around it. And at that time, I felt like I was getting hundreds of messages a day, and everyone is asking the same question. And I said to Tracy, you know what, let me take these questions and let's create content around it, and we'll call it a book. And that's what happened. So yeah, it was really written out of the aspiration to help other entrepreneurs to answer all the questions that are so common.
Right. And you're giving out all the proceeds to charity as well. Why did you choose that specific charity, for example?
So I think there's a big need in South Africa to educate aspiring entrepreneurs. All the things that we've been speaking about on this call is this whole fact that you need an idea, that you need funding. I think there's a lot to be said about it. And I'd like to take the proceeds that's coming out of this book and put it into that channel so that we can help entrepreneurs in South Africa. And I believe in entrepreneurship. I believe in small businesses. I think it's the solution to every single problem in this country. and I'd like to channel the money from the book into that direction so that we can educate young and aspiring entrepreneurs.
Great. I'm definitely looking forward to that. And for the people listening, you can definitely pre-order the book on his website. I'll put the link in the description. So for the things
when is this podcast going out?
Next week on Monday.
Next week, Monday?
Yeah.
All right, cool. So let me share this.
Okay, we'll do it.
So yes, the book is launching on the 31st of October. But on the 1st of November, we're having a big media and VIP launch event at the Monte Casino movies. And we've actually opened it up to the public, and we've opened up sales, and people can actually book for the event and get a copy of the book. And I'll be speaking there, and I'll be joined by some of my sharks, other great entrepreneurs. So if people are interested, they can definitely look at getting to the event.
So Monte Casino, that's in Johannesburg, right?
Yes.
Great. So for the things that people ask you a lot that made you write the book, I'm curious to know what are the things that you're surprised that people don't usually ask you, but you think they're important.
Well, I think the biggest thing is what we've already spoken about is where do I get funding? And I think that's the biggest problem that aspiring entrepreneurs have, is they don't have access to funding. But the problem should change, and you don't need funding. You must go and find customers, and you need to find ways of making that business work. But then also, I think like some of the very basic stuff that people are having issues with. The world 2017 is different to 2007. Don't go into a retail space. Don't start your business in an expensive property. Like all those silly, stupid mistakes that entrepreneurs make nowadays. I think we can save so much money if we just do those small things a little bit better. Don't go and take out the lease of 100,000 Rand a month. Start in your garage, start in your kitchen, start online. And I think that always surprises me, is that aspiring entrepreneurs always make the biggest mistakes so early on.
Right. And for what you mentioned, that I also think it was important, was the sales. It's something that a lot of people are actually don't want to admit that it's important. Most people avoid it. A lot of people would want to say that they admit that, oh, I'm not good at sales, or I'm not a salesman. But basically in life, mostly what you're doing is you're selling either yourself or your idea or somehow or something like that. So what are the things that you think one can do to practice his sales, for example?
Yeah, first of all, I think the great entrepreneurs are all salespeople. As you said, you're selling yourself, you're selling your product. It's very difficult to be a great entrepreneur if you're not a good salesperson. Obviously, you can go and hire those ones, but it's much, much more difficult. So I read a book a long time ago of Matt. I wanted to say Matt Brown now because I saw his name on your podcast, but it's not Matt Brown. It's a Matt. I'll get to it now. And he had little exercises to go and test or to get your confidence up. And it's actually to break it down. And it's stuff like go to a girl in a mall and ask her for a number. And when she gives it to you, you just throw it away. But that act of going to that girl and asking her a number will probably give you such a big confidence boost if you can get it right. And you need to put yourself in those awkward positions so that you're actually okay in business to do those awkward moments. And I've tried a couple of them, and it was super hard to do, but it really wakes something up in you. And I think we're so scared. But as an entrepreneur, you can't be. You need to make those calls. You need to set up those meetings.
Right. I couldn't agree more. I used to be like super introverted, and I used the same tactics just to get out of my comfort zone a lot. Now I'm like way better than I used to because of the same strategy.
Yeah, I think it's almost like anything. You need to practice it. And it does come natural to some people, but I think to most it doesn't. And if you want to be good at it, you actually need to practice it.
Right. So one thing that I wanted to ask actually was that after at 22, you become a millionaire. already at 24. Didn't you feel like you've hit the ceiling and there were nowhere to go anymore, or you actually felt you could think bigger after that moment?
That's an interesting question, Gray. I think maybe not at age 22, but I think somewhere along my journey, I got to a point where I felt like there's nothing really more that I want, money-wise, and then I got driven by other stuff. And today I wake up in the morning and I just want to be better than yesterday, and it's not money that drives me. And I'll tell you an interesting story why. That when I was in school and in the Free State, we used to go and camp a lot with friends on the farm and dams and rivers. And I used to lie there next to the fire looking up at the stars. And I wish I had a lot of money, but I had nothing. We were damn poor. I had nothing. And that changed in the last 10 years. And now money is no longer a problem, but I wish I had the time to go and lie next to a fire and look at the stars.
Well, that's very interesting. So it's true when they say money is not everything, right? After you made it.
No, it's definitely not. And I think something else needs to drive you. And if it is money that drives you, I don't think you're ever going to have enough anyway. But I think you need to get to a point where you do it for something else. And nowadays, I just want to wake up. I want to be better than what I was yesterday. I want to learn. I want to inspire. I want to make a change.
Great. And for the people listening, I mean, these are now some questions that came from some people I told that I'm doing a podcast with you. In the country right now, in South Africa, pretty much across the world in other places, some of my listeners are from the States. There's a problem now with college being expensive, or being questioned about, is it really worth that much anymore, or is it important, or is it not for some entrepreneurs? What are your thoughts on the subject? Should one go to college, or what should he or she consider before having to make that decision?
It's an interesting question, and I think very debatable. For me personally, I think education has changed a lot, like most other things in life. And I think all the content, all the education, all the material wasn't available 10 years ago that is available right now. And if you ask me, like, honestly, I would say when you're done, start working, get real experience, and do courses and educate yourself part-time. That would really be, if I was 18 in matric right now and I need to decide, that's what I would have done. There's a lot. Obviously that's applicable to certain industries, certain professions only, but there's a lot that you achieve out of studying at varsity. I've never been to a physical varsity in my life. I studied through UNISA, and I think that was the best of both worlds. Today I worked at night. I studied over weekends, and after 4 years, I had 4 years of great working experience. I had my degree, and I could take on the work. I think that's the way it should be done.
Right. Thanks for that. And I have just the quick questions that you're just going to answer that and we're done. You can answer them however you think, but try to make them give them as quick responses as possible. Number one, favorite city in Africa?
Cape Town.
Right. Thank you. I live in Cape Town. The most boring thing in the world to you, what would that be?
The most boring thing? Watching TV.
Oh, wow. You're the second person to say that on this podcast. The previous guest as well, Peter Saddington, said the same thing. All right.
I fall asleep.
Yeah, me too. Actually, I couldn't agree more. What would you change if you had all the power in the world right now?
I'll bring it back to entrepreneurship. I'd like to empower people to be entrepreneurs and not to work for someone or the traditional way. I'd like to empower entrepreneurship.
Awesome. And if you had to go back a certain age, which age would you rather go and why?
I think I'm happy with my life and I wouldn't change it for anything. If I had to choose an age, I'll go 18. And it was just the start of your adult life. And I think it's such an exciting time of your life.
Right. And any regrets in your life at all?
No, I think all the small little decisions brought me to this place, and I'm at a happy place, so I'm okay with life.
Great. And lastly, your favorite type of music, that if any other music had to be taken away from you, what album would you rather have on your iPhone?
I like oldies, just like good soul music. Yeah, so I'll settle with that. Just good soulful music.
Great. So your book is coming up, 90 Rules for Entrepreneurs. And definitely the listeners should go check it out. That you can pre-order, and there's could you supply me with a link as well to the event so that some people can check it
Yeah,
out?
so everything should be on my website. By the time the podcast releases, marnusbroodryk.com, that's my name, surname.com, 90 Rules for Entrepreneurs, the Codex of Hustle, and the event, the book, we're doing some t-shirts, some really cool stuff, and yeah, thank you.
Awesome. And what are the books actually that shaped you or that you think had a very impact in your life? Just so that we can share as well.
My most favorite book of all time, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Um, and then I've always enjoyed reading biographies and autobiographies. I'm actually busy with Trevor Noah's book at the moment, Born a Crime. I just finished Shoe Doc from the founder of Nike. I love reading other people's stories. Richard Branson is obviously a favorite. All the great biographies, Elon Musk, I just read. So yeah.
Great, man. Thanks so much for your time. I couldn't ask for more than this. Hopefully I could meet you one day when I'm in Johannesburg. I will try to, let you know.
Amazing. Thanks for the opportunity, Grant. Thanks for having me.
Great, man. Cheers. Have a nice day.
Cheers, man.
And that was the end of our conversation. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And if you thought this was helpful and you're new to this podcast, subscribe to the Grey F Podcast. This is a show for people who like to learn. If you're a lifelong learner like myself, who is always trying to improve themselves, then this is a podcast for you. We talk about entrepreneurship, cryptocurrencies, travel, what else, man? Lifestyle, everything really. There's no boundaries. It's just everything that could improve your life and mine as well. There are many ways to subscribe. You can either subscribe on iTunes or the podcast app on your Apple device. With the Grey F Podcast, you can just do a search and you'll find us on there. Or you can find me on SoundCloud and subscribe from there. Or you can find me on my own website, which is www.greyjabesi.com. That's GREYJABESI.com. Then you find me. All right. I hope I'll see you on the next episode. Cheers.